Alrighty, welcome to my presentation on It's Me versus the World, where we take an analysis of America's struggle of fighting within a war. Now, this idea is perpetuated by the single force of social movements and conflicts within society that occur during these wars that are going on, globally with the US and other countries. And so we're going to observe these influences that the war has on these situations and kind of explore the different mediums that America kind of outputs the information on these wars. So let's observe. So like I said, we are going to be observing the different types of fighting within the US, and these are concerning home front conflicts during World War II as well as the Cold War. And we're going to see how the war kind of influences these different types of conflicts. So during World War II, we do see two interesting movements with race. We do see equality being fought for as well as indifferences experienced. The first one I'm going to try to think about is African American civil rights. Now, during the war, African Americans have started to participate to be enlisted, they have been enlisted in and serving in the war. They're fighting for their nation, fighting for the rights of Americans, and this is something new. This is something that we're seeing more often in a huge number of participation. But however, back on the home front, as we do have, African Americans serving in the war, we do see just continued social injustice back at home. According to our Week 8 primary document, we can see from the NAACP papers that lynching is still occurring back on our home front. We do see that African Americans are still being attacked. They're faced with prejudice and a lot more hate than other time periods. And we do see this continued outpouring towards African Americans. And if you keep reading through the NAACP papers, along with conversations between several senators in the Week 8 primary document, we do see that there is a somewhat bias, because we do see senators talking about wanting to remove and raise higher anti-lynching laws. However, it isn't really experienced based on accounts of African Americans or African American associations. So the real civil rights have been fought for, just because, as we see through this war, African Americans are contributing to their country. That sense of patriotism and that sense of account for one's nation, that citizenship right, is such a heavy regard that African Americans are holding on to. And now we see back at home that regardless of who's fighting for America, these races are still not being treated equal. And that's something that we continue to see plague our country during this time period. And we do see the civil rights of African Americans being fought for heavily during this time. And it's continued throughout the World War II period, as we do, like I said, lynching was one of the major factors we've noted. The next demographic we're going to observe are Jewish refugees. And now, with World War II going on, we do see a huge surge of refugees coming to America. Now in this picture we do see, US soldiers, surveying, going through several different refugees and going through different types of screening processes to make sure that, the refugees are allowed to enter the country. And one of the interesting things is that we see from this letter written to the President of the United States, and that's also included in our Week 7 documents, that there's a huge outcry for an increase in ease of allowing these refugees into our country. One of the interesting quotes, I just want to read that first few sentences. your offices in reducing to a minimum the difficulties of obtaining visas in Germany for immigration to the United States for reason of good character or other circumstances, that you had advised me to take up the matter with the Department of State, and that the difficulties would be reduced to a minimum in cases of people worthy of admission to our country. Now, we see this continued struggle to escape a country that is persecuting Jewish citizens because of their faith, because of their ethnicity, and because of just their background, and strong in their religion and their faith, and they're being persecuted and trying to escape. However, we see these huge boundaries, these huge barriers in the United States that they have to overcome just to enter the states. We see that the U.S. has a huge notion to try to not get too involved in these matters as it is pertaining to war. As the United States was scared to overstep their boundaries and to go ahead and get involved that much into the war by taking refugees. We see how the war affected immigration just because of the fact that the U.S. and other forces were just not cooperating, and that does hurt Jewish refugees, because we do see them face hardships in America as they aren't given enough support, they're not given enough help or assistance as they enter the country, but merely they're just being rigorously screened under these quotas and admissions just to get into the country, and once they get in, it's just another fight to survive. So we do see a struggle among Jewish refugees. Now, the Cold War opens different social conflicts, and one of them I want to overview is gender equality. We see in our Week 8 documents with the videos, we do see I Love Lucy, and it gives us, I don't want to show the whole video, but I just want to show this clip because we see Ricky kind of throw his hands up as Lucy is asking to participate in a commercial that he was offered to go ahead and help create. And the episode clip continues on with Lucy trying to beg and trying to really urge Ricky to allow her to participate in this commercial. However, as we look through the series of I Love Lucy, she's very, very held to the stigma that, like Ricky mentions in the clip, that she isn't ready. She doesn't really understand what it takes to be on television. She doesn't understand the realm of entertainment. She is very centered on household activities. She's not very open to the outside world, kind of demeaning not just to Lucy but the entire female gender. And we see this strongly as we think about socialist concerns in the country. Women are trying to move forward and break that barrier, and as more social movements are popping up during the Cold War, we really see how women are trying to break those boundaries and break that conformity and start a new idea for the female gender. Along with that, we have youth rebellion. I want to show a quick clip from this video. And now we see this video, and it's from a movie back in the day, and we really see how a youth struggles to abide by his parents' wishes, to stay away from being subjected to the law. And usually we see how the youth would listen to their parents, and it's kind of a huge change, the huge conformity of the idea that the youth must listen to their parents, the youth must follow their parents' commandments, they must follow every single thing their parents lay out for them. However, in this movie we see such a beautiful breaking of that barrier of listening to the parents and wanting to follow what they believe is right. The youth in this movie, we really see James Dean really face such a personal anguish to want to do what he believes is right, against his parents' will, against his parents' order. And we see that continues throughout the clip in the video, the argument back and forth about what is wrong and what is right. So we see through these various outlets that it's a war within a war. During these different through the World War or World War II or even the Cold War, we see how war plays a role into each of the conflicts that we face on the home ground. And it's something you really want to take into mind as we note social movements, social conflicts, and home front conflicts. And it's something that we really have to contemplate on and see how war affects not just our nation's standard within policies, maybe within nations across the world, but we do have to see how it hurts the citizens of the United States and how it really does make a difference to the people living in our country. These are the references that all help to supply a lot of very, very helpful information. If you have any questions, feel free to comment me, leave a comment on the video. You can feel free to contact me. Thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed.